everyone, welcome back to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the Part-Time Avenger, and that is Mark, the Resident Jedi.
Hello there. We're ready to kick off this horror season with a movie that I'd never seen before. And that the person in the other video bubble gave me a relentless amount of shit for never seeing, asking me if I even liked movies, and asking me if I really like sci-fi movies. We are going to dig into the 1979 classic Alien.
We'll see if you think it's a classic. So Alien, Ridley Scott's Alien, 8.5 out of 10 on IMDb, 93% Rotten Tomatoes. The scores, do they speak for themselves? I don't know. I guess we'll find out on this episode. I am also on the kind of that same wavelength of where I did not see this for a very long time. I just recently watched it, and I say that recently as in during COVID. I had never watched it. I had burned the movie a long, long time ago, but I just never got around to watching it. I did grow up watching Aliens multiple times. I love that movie. And I figured, like, you know what? COVID's happening. I guess I should probably watch the first one. I heard it's great. I have the movie. Let's take a look. So Alien movies for you, specifically like this type of mythology, have you seen any of them?
No, never. Have not watched a one. No AVP, no nothing. I always thought these movies were like a gore fest kind of thing. And I'm not a big horror movie guy. It's just not my genre, not my cup of tea. I'm a little jumpy. It is what it is. But you gave me so much shit about it. And I was like, I'll acquiesce to this one. I'm sure I lost a bet somewhere down the line or made a poor prediction. We all
Still
know
too
it
many.
happens.
You'll never be able to catch up to all those bets made or incorrect predictions. So I don't know.
So this is just one of those moves towards that. But in the light of the spooky season, it makes sense that we took this in. And honestly, I'm not upset that we did.
So did you have any expectations going in thinking that, like, okay, there's a lot of hype around this movie. The reputation is there. Were you thinking like, I'm gonna go into here, I'm gonna shit on it, or I'm it's got to be good because everyone else says it's good and Ridley Scott did it.
So I know that Aliens has a really great reputation, and Alien is thought of as like a secondary in cases. Like I'm aware of the hype, but I also went into this expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, like some obscene amount of gore or something. So I didn't have high expectations. I didn't expect to like it. I expected to tolerate it and move forward, knowing that maybe the sequel will be better. Maybe we'll get there with it. And I was pleasantly surprised.
Interesting. So you thought the sequel would be better. Okay. This might be inaccurate, but I'm pretty sure this is like widely respected as like the best movie is the original Alien. I know you're a big Terminator 2 fan and you're not a big fan of Terminator. So I wonder if that would fall in the same ballpark as you. But uh Alien, I think I want to say it's like Quentin Tarantino's like, favorite horror movie or something like that. I might be misspeaking. Maybe it's somebody else's completely. I never viewed Aliens as a horror movie. And so I was under the impression that Alien was going to be much more in that vein of horror. And just like you said, I was surprised. I won't say if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I was definitely surprised by the movie. I want to hear your version of the plot.
A transport ship crew responds to distress signal in space.
Which everyone responds to distress
Well,
signal in
you do,
space, right?
there's that happens. There's that. And then Alexa thinks that the alien is more important than the crew, and chaos ensues.
From a strictly capital greed perspective, are they right? Is Alexa right? Or Mother, as
So
he's credited.
let's take a minute and talk about Mother. This is a really interesting movie, and I love that it's so old. I, for some reason, and it's because of Star Wars, let's all be honest, I love this throwback look or not throwback, it is old, this old sci-fi movie, because it feels more gritty and closer to what a reality of space could have looked like from the date that it was made. Now there'll be more screens and less buttons. There'll be more swipey and Elons than anything else. We know that space travel won't look like this in the future, but it just was cool to go back there and enjoy the movie. Where 2001 is this like claw my eyes out drog through a movie, this wasn't. And this also, like 2001, had the AI represented, something that in 1979 was strictly imaginary, and now in 2024 is a real part of life. But when corporations like this, in what could be perceived as still the future, are run by AI and strictly report to data, that's the undermine. The villain here, not the monster. The monster is just a monster. The villain is the android and the AI, because it's thinking about stocking its weaponry, how it could use it against it, which I love that this space version is not one like Star Trek, which at the time was like one of the only versions of space, where Star Wars was out by 79. Don't get right, it was there. But when this was written and conceived, Star Wars had maybe just come out. So in Star Trek, you've got this very, we don't use weapons, we're here to explore kind of thing. This was a profiteering space pirate kind of jockey crew, we're all bitching about our bonuses view. So it was a real decision made by the computer that, from a data perspective, works if you don't think about the crew as anything but things. They're not people. So if you're measuring it by value to life, like maybe, but I love that you bring in this villain that is the AI, that is Mother, in a bigger way that just hits better now. That might be why I like the movie so much, because in my head it's like man versus machine, but it's man versus weird alien too.
The overall just I forgot about how the machinery was so involved. I forgot about Ash. And I thought it was super interesting. I completely, even though I just watched this maybe 4 years ago, it didn't stick with me. I remember it being good, but small parts of the plot, like Ash being an android, I just completely forgot about. And you could kind of tell right off the bat that that character's a little bit fishy, right? Like I'm not the only one that thought that Ash was kind of like he's gonna be the bad guy. Did you think that?
Well, when he was making decisions that were obviously not the best for the group, you knew he was the bad guy as soon as he opened the airlock.
Oh, I thought even before then when he did like his little weird like I don't know if it was just like a convulsion or whatever it was. But like he almost was super excited to be at this place. Like he was getting himself psyched up to get the alien. Because why would an android be that cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs?
Well, they didn't like take any precautions to save John Hurt, by the way. Aliens on him. No, let's wait and figure out what's going on before we just beat the shit off this thing off his face.
Well, they
Um,
did try, and then the acid fucking spills down to like
that was
four
dope.
levels below.
It was
That was
dope.
sweet. I completely forgot that aliens had acid blood. So that's something that I've watched plenty of movies, and I never even thought about the face hugger having the alien blood. I just for some reason I just didn't think of it.
I think that adding that third combatant really created a complex movie. And that was super cool
Who do
to
you
me.
think is the bigger villain? Is it the alien or is it the artificial intelligence corporate greed?
But that's the thing. The alien's the threat. The greed is the villain. That's why the ending of the movie is so cool. And we're going to talk about more of what happens. But in the end, she releases from the alien. She kicks it out. She's going back towards whatever. but what is she going back towards? The same place that put her in this situation anyway. And that's I enjoyed it as a saga builder. I'm stoked to dig into aliens and other alien properties, except the ones with Predator. That just seems dumb.
Yeah, you don't have to watch those. That's fine. I won't force you to watch those. Besides it being a 1979 movie, we obviously know Sigourney Weaver from Aliens and Ghostbuster fame and
Galaxy Quest.
the
Let's be
Galaxy
honest.
Quest. I couldn't think of that. I haven't seen that movie yet, so
What?
uh, yeah, I know. I should. I should see it, but I
Oh,
haven't.
that's getting on the list.
But this cast was pretty deep too. So they had a few award-winning actors on there, but mainly American audiences will know the captain of the ship, Dallas, Tom Skerritt. Give me your rundown of what you thought about the cast, their kind of interactions. Are you digging it? Are you believing that this is just like a resourcing convoy that's going out there? Or do you think they're like, oh, this is just all a little bit too convenient?
I actually liked the put together. Scarrett, Dallas, or or Bearded Viper, as I like to call him. If he's the captain of the ship, to be a captain of a spaceship, you would assume that there's like some level of military background. And he runs the operation as such. He's not military, but he's running that operation there. So it's believable. I've seen him in uniform and I've seen him in a jet on my neck. John Hurt, I thought I just like him, and I think that it worked there. And then you had everybody else that was part of the corporate team, and then like the grunts that are just there to be mechanics, and they're not brought on for a contract, they're brought on mission to mission. That made sense. Like the makeup of the crew made sense to me. I think Lambert was the annoying one of the group, right? The navigator, because she really didn't do anything.
Fun fact, did you know that she was originally supposed to play Ripley and she didn't know until like the day of that, like, oh, by the way, you're not Ripley. It was pretty crazy that that was the case. Something about when Sigourney Weaver just nailed the audition. There's like, yep, that's Ripley. Oh, what about that other lady? Like, we'll figure it out. We'll talk to her later.
There were a few throwaway characters, but there always are, right? But I think the ensemble worked. And though these are, I don't know that they're big names, right? Is Tom Skerritt a big name? Like other
I
than
mean,
this and like
for moviegoers like us, yes.
yeah, right, us. But other than this and Top Gun, I'm like, what else was Tom Skerritt in?
I mean,
Hmm.
Harry Dean Stanton. I mean, there's a lot of people in there. If you're moviegoers like us, I
Yes, yes.
totally understand why some people would be like, "Who? What?" Like, all right, let me just throw out some like, okay, Dana from Ghostbusters, Viper from Top Gun. Like, there you go. There's the names. It's funny that you were talking about captains having military background and experience. I think the only person that follows protocol and acts as if she's in the military is Ripley. She's like, ah, fuck you guys. We have quarantine protocols. We cannot risk the lives of everyone else by bringing this person back onto the ship. And I'm referring to when Kane had the face hugger on him. But that's where it was just like, wow, Ripley's a stone cold badass. She just is by the book. She's trying to do things right and follow things by protocol. And that kind of caught me by surprise because I didn't picture her as that, and I don't remember her being like that from the other movies.
Well, I think this is the one where she's gone through some things that made her stay away from the book, man.
I think with overall, my thoughts on the entire crew, it seemed almost very contrived to me. Like, I guess I felt like they were just trying to check boxes off for everything. I think the only one that I really liked and believed was Lambert, Veronica Cartwright, because I think she even talked about this and like she put a positive spin since she wasn't being cast as Ripley. They made her, or they told her, like, hey, by the way, you kind of represent the fear of everyone, the audience and also the people on the ship and how you'd be reacting. So yeah, that's believable because I'm not gonna stick around with freaking aliens. And she was totally on it. I totally empathized with her. It's like, just get me the hell out of here. I don't want to be around any of this stuff. Let's go. That was the one believable, besides Ripley being a believable character for me. Um, Ash is an android I kind of get, but I also viewed him as like an antagonist because, so he was up to something, and I just forgot he was an android overall. The others kind of just like, okay, where's throwaway number one? Where's throwaway number two? Like, that's what it seemed like to me.
Oh, it
So
was, but I mean, that's standard horror movie stuff.
I guess I expected more from Ridley Scott because of his reputation,
Well, I
right?
mean, this
And
is 1979 Ridley Scott. This
yeah,
isn't like,
arguably is his best movie, arguably. So,
I
I
mean,
mean, that's where I'm kind of stuck at, where it's like this guy has such a great reputation, but at the same time, I think he's kind of overrated when it comes to a lot of his movies. So we reviewed one of his movies before, and I thought it was just like, yeah, I guess it's okay. Maybe if I would have saw it at the time, maybe that's the reason why I'm kind of nitpicking because I'm expecting excellence when everyone holds Ridley Scott to this unreal expectation of excellence.
I mean, I think that honestly, I thought the movie's good. And I don't know that you hold the director accountable for the fact that there's a few people that are throwaways. He didn't write it.
Directors have that call though. They can they can redo some stuff.
Mm. I don't know. I don't hold Ridley Scott accountable for the token people that get killed, right? I do think that he did a great job of just creating suspense in this movie. Um, Knowing that special effects were not that great then, and all of the special effects in this were practical. If I were to compare the special effects in this movie versus like in The Thing, this movie kept the suspense going even when you saw versions of the creature for me. Way more than The Thing with the weird jelly blue and you know how I felt about the effects in The Thing, that they were laughable. I thought that this was just it did what I wanted The Thing to do after my first watches, kept the suspense and that. Given I am a little biased to the alien coming out of the stomach, right? Because I've seen Spaceballs too many times, and I wanted it to just dance off the stage. But I think that you've got to give credit to him using the cinema technology of the time and the effects of the time to put something together that I think at no point in seeing the creature in its many stages did you did you like I didn't step out of it. Like I wasn't like, "Oh, what the fuck is that? What
Hmm.
is that?"
Interesting. Okay.
Which I did in The Thing, which I know is John Carpenter, another, director that's lauded in another movie that's on a pedestal.
Interesting. Because I felt almost like the opposite at some parts. The I thought the face hugger was great. Like that kind of like I knew exactly what was going to happen, but at the same time, the practical effects, the way the egg opens up, the way it looks while it's inside of the egg, and then when it just shoots out at the at Kane,
John
it
Hurt.
was
Yeah.
it was a jump. It was a jump. Did you feel like a jump at all for that or no?
Yeah, no, this I've got a feeling that this movie and this franchise in general are more jump scares, not gore scares, which is good. I'm all for the jump scares as opposed to the
Okay.
excessively gory thing.
The acid for blood practical effects was pretty sweet. Like that just seems so damn awesome. Like yeah, just pour some acid on some shit and just let it pour through. And like I just thought it was so cool
Well,
and just little things like that. But I will say, so the Last Supper and the chest burster, I had a problem with that scene. I had a problem with that scene. I thought it it didn't hold up for me. It did not hold up for me, and I was disappointed when I saw it. Um,
you know what I had a problem with? I had a problem before that scene even happened. I was already riding a what the actual fuck before that scene. And
Explain.
so they can't get the damn thing off the guy. It bleeds acid, which I will absolutely double down on your comment of giving not just a, ooh, it's acid, but like taking it to the depth of this could absolutely destroy the ship and kill us all just from its blood dropping. Amazing. Like just gave depth and other peril to the conversation. But where's the face hugger? Let's go in here, all of us together, and look around. Is it up here? Where else can I put my face where it could fucking jump on it?
But they didn't see it jump like that. They just saw it attached to him. It's not
But
like they
either
saw him.
way, it's obviously a very dangerous thing. And you brought the whole fucking crew in. Which way did it go? Oh, he must be okay now.
Only
Let's
the
give him some
captain.
Wheaties and some cornbread.
Well, I don't know. I think you're being a little too skeptical on that.
No,
But
that was it didn't look Martha me in that situation. I wasn't out of it. I was just like, that's fucking dumb. There's a reason you're all gonna fucking die.
I did think that, like, why are you not back to back or at least traveling together on that stuff?
Where's
Because
the
you do
weapon?
not.
Nobody had a weapon.
Well, no, Ash had that little laser pen. Like, that. Here, use this.
Also,
That's all
Ripley
that he
broke
had.
her own rule. She went in. She should have been like, close the door on you fuckers. I'm gonna watch you
Yeah.
die by this thing.
Yeah, it was interesting though, the simple little nuance of Ash going back and closing the door. Because and you have to think, like, did he close the door so that way it wouldn't escape? Or was he closing it hoping that it would get to another host? Because he doesn't necessarily know what's happening. At least that was my interpretation of it. They know that
Yeah,
there's an
no, for
alien
sure.
creature out there, but they don't know the capabilities of it. So he feels he's safe because he's an android. It doesn't really matter. But obviously, the other two, like, hey, it's fair game. And I just need to get this back because Mother told me to. Alexa told me to bring it back. And what do? I listen to her. Uh,
He was ringing the dinner bell for sure.
thought that's where, like, this is where he's gonna like freak out because I knew that happened in the movie, but I just forgot about it because it's been so long. The chest burster scene at the Last Supper, I just kind of was super bummed by it because the practical effects, if you hadn't seen Aliens first, I think this is where you are at an advantage because you're going in with a fresh set of eyes. You have no real expectation of what's supposed to happen or what could happen because you've seen the sequels before. So I think I'm a little bit jealous of your viewing of it because you get a chance to see it with a little bit different perception than I have. Because I loved Aliens, and so everything was just based off of that. A lot of science fiction was based off of that and Terminator. What about the alien as it's fully grown? Thoughts about that? The look of it, the believability of it.
So having seen what the like more modern look of the alien ends up as, you could tell it's a guy in a latex suit with a big old head on it, right? But they don't put it in full frame, in full view like they do in the more modern movies. It's scary looking. It's black. You don't know. It hides well. I'm with it. And I love that you're to go back to your comment. I love that you have the aliens versus alien reaction to my Terminator 2 versus Terminator action. It's the exact same feeling.
I could see
In
that.
that the new one was just better and the old one looks shittier now. So I feel you there. Advantage accepted because I'm glad I didn't hate it. But yeah, the fully grown alien, it's fine for me. I know it's a movie from, the late 70s, early 80s. So I know it's not going to be perfect, but good enough. Its size makes it intimidating. The shape and stuff is super inventive, and the feature of the double mouth thing is so cool. Even the tail being like this weapon was I digged it. I thought it was exactly what the android head, when they cemented it to the ground, said it was. It was the perfect killing machine.
I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts. Hope fingers crossed. Hopefully, we do Aliens. I really want to hear your opinion on that stuff, and I think it'd just be a fun comparison and back and forth on what we thought about these two movies. Before we get to that, which may or may not happen, did you see the twist happening with Ash as an android?
No, because I didn't know androids existed in this world. They didn't call it out.
Yeah.
Um, which is cool because for me, it just adds to the depth of the sci-fi.
Knowing that it was an android, though, did you kind of second guess as like, oh yeah, well, he did act a little bit strange here and there, and maybe that's the reason why he did some of this stuff? Or did you just think like, oh, he was a bad guy, oh, and he just happens to be an android?
No, I thought that it made sense, some of the decisions that he made, like opening the airlock for him and stuff like that, because he was operating under a completely different set of objectives than the rest of the group.
What did you think about the whole getaway from that planet and the final showdown with the alien?
It worked for me. Like, I have no objection. I know why they left the planet. Maybe I liked the way Ripley had to end it. Self-destructing everything, pulling every possible twisty tie lever across the board. I thought the universe build was good. The tech build was good. I mean, the movie in and of itself, you knew that she was going to be the only one that was left, right? I mean, it was telegraphed in that way, but the way they got there was good for me. Do you have a feeling
Okay.
about it a certain way? You bring it up. I got a feeling you got a thought.
No, no, I was just kind of curious because it's interesting for me to hear your thoughts. Like, obviously, I know what happens because I saw the sequel first. And they do talk about it a little bit. I guess the reason why I'm asking so much about this is because it's interesting for me to hear people's first thoughts on movies as opposed to, I've seen this movie a million times. Like this is because it's a brand new thing for you.
Mhm.
And we get a chance to have this discussion on the podcast and then hear people or have people listen to us and what we have to say on it. I think it's just really cool to see some of those initial impressions and what you think about it, what you like, what you dislike, and is it believable, is it not believable? When you think about the different layers of this movie, it's very complicated. You can choose it to be very, very simple. Oh, it's a bunch of people, they run into an alien, they got to get out of the shit. But you have the corporate greed aspect, you have AI kind of coming into place. You've got military order thought process of what should happen, what should not happen. So there's just a lot of different things that I like to get your opinion about this stuff, and I feel like the people should also know your opinion on it because we've reviewed a lot of movies.
Appreciate it. I will say the thing that came to mind most with this movie, it reminded me of The Thing in a lot of ways, and I thought it was an upgrade from The Thing. Off different things, they went to a place where this force was contained and then released it, right? I think they align pretty well from a storyline perspective. When I walked away from this, I was like, I see why people like The Thing, but I like this better. I was pleasantly surprised as a first time view, because when you watch something that so many people laud, like, you worry, not worry, but you're like, where do I come down in this? Am I in the, I understand why people like it, or am I just like, what the fuck is this hype? Because that's how I felt about The Thing. I'll watch it again. It's complex. It's got a good story. The man versus man at the end is great. Like, there are great moments in The Thing, but overall, I was like, is, like, it's hyped at a 12, and I got it at like a 9. right? I'm a
Hmm.
few dials back from the hype on the thing, but I'm on the hype train with this.
Okay.
I really did enjoy, and maybe it's just because I'm biased towards space sci-fi as opposed to Antarctic sci-fi, but in general,
Hey, they came from space, so I mean, kind of counts, right?
Kurt Russell didn't. He came from his shanty.
Um, Before we get to that pivotal question, anything Martha you about the
Oh
movie? I know we
God.
talked about some things, but
There was only one thing in this movie that I'm like, oh, so we haven't gotten past that part for space yet. We haven't, that rule didn't come out yet, that you can't smoke cigarettes in an oxygen rich environment. These people are fucking puffing away on fucking what were they even smoking? Like was it like
it looked like
cloves?
marijuana, right? I mean,
It was either
didn't they?
weed or clove cigarettes. Apparently the science didn't get us to a place where you don't smoke in an oxygen rich environment, or you probably shouldn't have cancer in space. Apparently, that little shelf that puts you in the cabinet handles it. You're good. Nicotine is necessary. Mother didn't say don't smoke. So, mother ain't that smart, apparently. I don't know. Did that get you? Like, nobody talked about oxygen or flammable, like the things that are part of space.
So there are a lot of things I love to nitpick. When it comes to space movies or science fiction in space, I am okay with a few liberties because zero gravity is only cool for so long. And when it comes to some of the physics or other things that can happen or shouldn't happen in space, like, hey man, I don't know. So freaking go smoke your cigarette or your weed if you want. That's fine. I'm okay with it. It does not Martha me whatsoever. But it hit a nerve with you, right? Just to make sure I'm
I
understanding
mean, I
correctly.
have no problem with the fact that there was no conversation about the fact that all the ships do this, but there's gravity everywhere, right? That they all there's no special footwear, no nothing like that. I'm fine. I'm fine. Like 2001 had the circle thing going all the time for the gravity.
Sure.
Like there's that Star Wars doesn't, and I don't care. That's fine. It is
Okay.
what it is. But the cigarette thing, and maybe it's like a sensitivity, maybe it's just a modern look at it, but it just made no sense. It
Okay.
made no sense. But it is what it is. It's part of the universe, and we have to accept it. Just like we had to accept that Batman and Superman's moms were both named Martha, and it brought them together.
Well, when it comes to Marthaing moments for me, there was not one specifically, but it was an ongoing thing throughout the movie. And you had said that they do a very good job, Ridley Scott does a very good job of building up the suspense. I really disagree because I felt like there was suspense that was built, but there were some shots and some scenes that were just lagging on and on. And I felt like that could have just been edited better. One specific one is like I believe they were going up an elevator or something like that, or there's two guys in spacesuits and they're just sitting there and it's like a shot for 5 seconds, 6 seconds, way too long. And then I felt like the guy that was in the suit was like, man, what the fuck are they filming right now? Like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I thought that was just super unnecessary. He looked up like out of nowhere for no reason. And that's all I could think about is like he thinks that this scene is too long too. He thinks that the director should have yelled cut about 5 minutes ago. So I'm all about suspense building, and I do like movies that are slow burns, but this is not a slow burn movie, but there were slow burn shots.
That's where I give it grace because of the time period it's in. My comparison is Kubrick and like 2001, where it's two movies instead of one because of it is Snyder-esque, the level of taffy that man pulls in that movie. And I didn't feel that in this, but to each their own.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't feel that in 2001. And I thought I was like into it. I was like, what's going to happen now? Like, where are we going from here? I wasn't wondering where we were going from here. I was wondering, why is Tom Skerritt standing at the door and then decides to walk into the room? Like, there was no purpose when he goes to talk with Mother. It's almost as if, all right, Tom, go ahead and stand right there. Okay, action. And then Tom Skerritt walks in. Like they could have cut a few seconds
It,
of certain scenes. It just seemed ridiculous to me.
do you think that's just Tom Skerritt? That Tom
I think
Skerritt's like not an amazing actor, so he like Skerritt.
no. I don't know, man. Maybe he likes an entrance, but it just seemed ridiculous. Like, hey, mother is calling you. Oh, okay. You walk into the room. It's not like it's a
Oh
real
yeah,
person that he's like knocking, like, hey, can I come in? Are you decent? Like, no, he could just walk into the room and talk to the AI and it's good. And
I
the guy that was standing there, like waiting for the next scene, all of a sudden looks up and bends his knees a little bit, like, fuck, this day's taking forever to shoot. That's exactly what I was thinking because this is taking forever for me to watch. It took me out of it completely.
I've got to think that it's Tom Skerritt though.
It's
Like
not, but it
even
wasn't just him. It wasn't
but
just him.
but,
There
but
were multiple scenes.
that scene has me thinking of that speech he gives in Top Gun to Maverick about your dad. They're everywhere like fireflies across, and he just is. He's he's not smooth.
Fair
Tom
enough.
Skerritt, not a smooth operator, and that scene now that I can picture it right where he's just it's like why are you standing there? But it makes sense that it's totally Tom Skerritt.
I just feel like the pacing it just wasn't there for me. And hey, what can you do? That's just my opinion. I'm sticking to it though. But I got a question for you. So we got a chance to talk about the movies and um, how much ass does Sigourney Weaver kick in this movie? Because and I'm not just talking about alien ass. I'm just talking about acting, delivery, interactions with the crew. You thought I was going to ask you another question, but I feel like we should talk a little bit more about Sigourney Weaver because this is the first female-led movie. As the she's the hero or at least the surviving member, but everyone can relate to her in this movie. So, what did you think about that?
One, not the first female led. I would say that Carrie Fisher was a huge lead in Star Wars and
Not the only though. Not the only
carried those
one.
idiots around the galaxy.
Did
But
Luke and Han die though?
no, because Darth
Exactly.
Vader was not a face hugger. The Force doesn't work that way. But I'm gonna say that Sigourney Weaver is awesome in this movie. And this movie is the reason she had a career. The reason that she got to do other things. I love this as a start for her because and I've got to say that I love that she kept coming back to it, right? Like you'll get uh, um actors that will have a great successful character and they won't come back to it or they'll be like that's past me now. I must do other things, right? She did fucking Gorillas in the Mist and then came back and did Alien 3, right? Like she balanced her career and still went back to where she came from. And I celebrate Sigourney Weaver's catalog. I enjoy Sigourney Weaver, but love this as one of the the catalysts that made her an everyday a household name, if you will.
Yeah, I really liked her in this movie. I totally can understand as to why people still think of Alien, Aliens, and maybe not necessarily the other movies, but those two movies, and she is like the ultimate pinnacle female badass. And Princess Leia was a badass too, for a little bit at least, but nothing in comparison to Ripley. So we talked a lot about this movie, but I felt like we just need to talk a little bit more about Sigourney Weaver and just how awesome she did in it. So Sigourney Weaver, maybe future friend of the podcast, who knows? But well,
Welcome to be, welcome to be, and you gotta say that this character you don't get that like she is as synonymous with Alien as Jamie Lee Curtis is with Halloween.
absolutely.
And just like they could do they're doing alien movies now, but they're not centered in the same space and time. But man, they could do an alien movie tomorrow and I'd be like, or they could do another alien and I'd be like, can Sigourney Weaver be in it again? I bet you she'd still be awesome.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Well, I got a question for you though. This one is the actual end of the show question. But Mark, when it comes to the 1979 Alien, can you do this all day?
Yes. Surprisingly, did not expect to go into this movie and be like, man, I want to watch the sequel now. I was going to be like, I got through it. We could talk about it. And Dan will stop bugging me about fucking Alien. But honestly, loved it. Want to watch the next one. Excited to kind of dig in and more interested in bridging through the rest of the movie. I think there's like five. Um,
There's a
but
lot.
yeah, there's more than a handful of Alien going on there. But really really glad that I took the time to take in this kickoff to a franchise that you never can get enough sci-fi. So really happy about that. But that's just my opinion. There's another person who we let talk on this podcast, and I've got to toss it right back to you, Dan. When it comes to the Ridley Scott classic 1979 OG space movie Alien, can you do this all day?
I am very surprised at this answer, but it is no. I this was originally my idea to watch this movie. I love Aliens, and I remember liking Alien a whole lot. But I think I was just a little bit too high off of Aliens, and that's the reason why I enjoyed the 1979 Alien original. The pacing is just too slow for me. And I think for me watching this again, especially after watching a few Ridley Scott movies that I didn't necessarily like or enjoy, I might just not be a Ridley Scott fan. I think that's what it might be. Maybe it's the directing style and the type of way that he wants his art to be viewed and consumed. It's just not my cup of tea. Um, do I think that there were fantastic performances in it? Sigourney Weaver as number one for sure. And I did like Veronica Cartwright as Lambert. Like I thought that was like a really cool take. I don't think she was the damsel in distress. I think she was just a crazy thought process of, hey, this is a seriousness in the situation I'm in, and there's a freaking alien. Get me the fuck out of here. What are we waiting for? I think that was more of a believable performance than everyone else. I think third would be Ash, would be my favorite out of those are the top three performances in my opinion. But I just can't do it all day because as much as I like the alien mythology and the quadrilogy of at least the Sigourney Weaver based movies, I fall into the Resident Jedi comparison of Terminator 2 to Terminator 1. Aliens I enjoyed so much more, and the first one it just didn't hit for me this time. And I just recently rewatched it, so it's not like I'm remembering it from 4 years ago. I recently rewatched it. Just not mine. Do I respect the craft and the movie? For sure. Absolutely. But just can't do it all day. It's not something that I'm gonna be picking up for a while. And my son, who was really excited to watch these movies, watched it with me, and he was done after 30 minutes. So I think that may have played into a factor as to like, oh, he didn't like the movie that I'm really interested in. So sorry, Ridley Scott. Sorry, sci-fi fans, but can't do it all day.
It's okay. We'll all just be disappointed in you. The hypocrisy is strong on this
It
podcast.
is. It
So
is.
strong.
But that wraps it up for our first Halloween episode horror film. And keep in mind, everyone, the Resident Jedi is watching these movies and he's not a big fan of horror. So please give him an applause. And Mark, thank you for being an excellent co host and checking out this movie. I'm glad that you want to check out Aliens, which might be better than this. Who knows? We'll see if you think the same thing. But until next time, I'm Dan, the part-time Avenger. That's Mark, the Resident Jedi.
Like, subscribe, hit us on social. Let us know if we should watch Aliens and which one you like better. I Can Do This All Day I Can Do This All Day podcast on all of the socials. Let Dan know that the hypocrisy is a problem and he needs to fix it.
Until Ridley Scott makes another Alien movie, I Can Do This All Day. We'll see you next time, everyone.